This is Part 2, Episode 62. Long Jiaonian also hesitated for a moment, and the vortex, which was currently above Heaven Wave City, had already become a passage to another world. The heavenly devils that swarmed out from the vortex were getting stronger, and the heavenly devil horde flooded in from the sky. Leave, my people of our Juqian, leave the crumbling dark world of ours and head for the new world. Juqian Devil King stood on the sacrificial altar, and opened his 8 arms to welcome the heavenly devils that were descending down, while shouting with a world-shaking voice, "Come, my people. This new world isn't desolate like Juqian. There are beautiful women, endless food, and the people guarding this world are all weaklings. Let us trample on them." Long Jiaonan saw her own father was already under the feet of this Devil King. Even the flood dragon that her father had raised laid on the ground, unable to move. Meanwhile, the other existence of the cult master level was already beheaded. His head was plucked off by Juqian Devil King, who was raising it high up in of his hand. Is Dragon Rider sect really going to be finished? Sorrow swept through her heart. The heavenly devil horde in the sky fell like rain and attacked the soldiers that were escaping in all directions. Qin Mu was also blasted out of the sky and fell to the ground with a few thumps. 6 to 7 heavenly devils crashed down around him and gradually stood up. Qin Mu was no stranger to the heavenly devil horde. He had traveled through great ruins with village chief at night and met the heavenly devil horde when he was searching for Carefree Village, and he had also killed quite a number of them. The body of these heavenly devil horde was strong and grew in all shapes and sizes, which was different from humans. Furthermore, they cultivate devil chi and was proficient in close combat and spells. Their divine arts are queer, but not as intricate as humans. When these heavenly devils just landed, Qin Mu flashed to the side of a heavenly devil and raised his knife and beheaded this heavenly devil. He then dodged the scorpion tail of another heavenly devil, the jet-black tail nearly hooking onto his neck. Qin Mu stabbed his fingers forward and Junior Protector's sword pierced through the scorpion tail, which the heavenly devil had yet retracted. With his other hand executing heavenly devil Freedom Mudra, he pulled the soul of a heavenly devil, which was closing in on him, out of his body, shattering the soul in 2 pieces. Una La. A cow-head heavenly devil pointed at him and shouted, "Una La, Maya bu lu gnao di nuo johong, warrior, I want to challenge you. Come, bring it on." Qin Mu shouted and his vital chi burst forth, as he executed Overlord Body 3 Elixir technique. That cow-head heavenly devil bellowed and rushed over with quick steps while dragging a huge and long knife that was 10 yards long. The blade of the knife was in contact with the ground, thus sparks flew as he dragged it over and slashed it down at Qin Mu with a sudden shout. Right at this moment, a huge snake crashed down from the sky and crushed the cow-head heavenly devil into broken pieces. Long Jiaonan controlled the huge snake to land on the ground, and with the snake's tail sweeping horizontally like a huge iron pillar, she managed to overwhelm and crush dozens of heavenly devils that came for her. Qin Mu instantly fleeted away, and as Long Jiaonan was about slaughter towards him, countless heavenly devils descended from the sky. Even though her cultivation had surpassed Qin Mu by 2 to 3 realms, she was still caught up in a bitter struggle. Qin Mu was also caught in an ambush. Hulinger immediately summoned a tornado that revolved around them, but there were still heavenly devils who could rush into the tornado and pounced at them. More and more heavenly devils poured in from another world, and looking from afar, they were like countless flies flying down from the sky, hiding the sky and covering the earth. Patriarch said, "I must be able to settle disaster created by myself. It seems that I can't settle it this time." Cold sweats broke out on Qin Mu's forehead. Suddenly, bright lights suddenly came from the south, and the lights were moving in the sky, lighting up the entire land. The lights grew brighter and brighter as they moved from the south. Wherever the light passed by, countless of heavenly devils would fall from the sky without their heads. Qin Mu raised his head to take a look and was shook. Those lights were sword groups. Sword groups formed by countless swords. It was impossible to count exactly how many swords there were. Meanwhile, in the middle of the sword groups, there were thousands of sword pellets that were still whirling continuously. The sword pellets were like moons, and as they spun, flying swords flew out continuously and killed all the heavenly devils in the sky with all kinds of sword forms. The sword groups were simply too vast. The light given off by each sword was all very dazzling, and there was probably a few million swords here. With all the light gathered together, it was truly a magnificent sight. Even though the heavenly devils from Juqian hid the sky and covered the earth in a piece of black, the sky soon cleared up once again, after the dazzling sword groups swept them, leaving just countless corpses falling from the sky. In Heaven Wave City, Juqian Devil King's expression changed hugely and gave a bellow. He sped up the process to summon his true body over, and the 100 of heavenly devils' voices around the altar became incomparably loud and clear, using the devil language, and countless corpses, to summon the true body of Juqian Devil King. The air trembled violently, as a huge foot stretched out from another world. There were devil flames burning around this feet, which burned the sky scarlet red. The sword groups in the sky suddenly changed their directions, and whistled towards Heaven Wave City. The scale of the sword groups was almost as huge as Heaven Wave City. In the city, Juqian Devil King roared in anger as he raised his 8 arms. With a hum, a huge black barrier appeared in the sky above Heaven Wave City, covering the entire sky. In an instant, countless ear-piercing noises sounded out, causing countless people to bleed from their ears. That was the sound when the flying swords collided with the black barrier of Juqian Devil King. The clanging noises practically burst forth all at the same time, therefore no one's ears could withstand the sound. Qin Mu was also deafened and couldn't hear any sounds. Countless heavenly devils around him were also covering their ears and squatting on the floor in an unbearable pain. In Martial Order County on the opposite shore, countless Eternal Peace's soldiers were guarding against the invasion of the heavenly devil horde, and everything was in complete confusion. The noises given off from the collision between the sword lights and the dark barrier had also caused an extreme pain to the countless soldiers here. However, since the distance was much further, it was still bearable for them. Plopping sounds came from the river surface. It was from those heavenly devils flying to the opposite shore, who were getting blown out from the sky, falling into the river. In the city tower of Martial Order County, a white-haired old general gave off an expression of astonishment. Imperial Preceptor, a great expert, has gone to the opposite shore. Duke Wei, this man is not only a great expert. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor stood in the front and gazed at the situation across the river. His ability is not far from mine. He's even stronger than the 3 old monsters that ambushed me back then. Duke Wei gave off a puzzled expression. He sized up the sword groups that were contending against Juqian Devil King and looked at the true body of Juqian Devil King in the sky, which already had half of his leg in this world, while asking puzzledly, who had summoned this Devil King? Isn't this a little too much? Have these fellows of the southern borders really stooped so low just to obtain victory? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor shook his head. With me around, Juqian Devil King will not be able to descend into this world. On the contrary, the one who summoned this devil god had done a great merit for our eternal peace. Isn't Heaven Wave City just destroyed like that? Our soldiers will not have to bleed. If it was me, I will also choose to do this for the lives of our soldiers. Duke Wei sighed. Imperial Preceptor, this is why they don't understand you and said you're following the devil path. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor walked out of the city tower and headed towards Heaven Wave City on the opposite shore with a smile. The reason they said that was because I had affected their interests. My merits and demerits are not what the current people can evaluate. Only the people of hundreds and thousands of years later can judge my merits and demerits. Furthermore, in my eyes, they are already dead. In Heaven Wave City, Qin Devil King gave a dull grunt. The flesh on his 8 palms became messed up. The attack of the countless swords was simply terrifying. He was unable to endure the strength coming from them. If his true body came forward, he could naturally endure it, but this body was merely transformed from wood. Qin Mu had summoned him with his devil voice, but Qin Mu's strength was too weak. The energy he could transfer over through Qin Mu was too little and wasn't enough to contend with this strong practitioner that was controlling countless of flying swords. At this moment, he saw a middle-aged man walking over from the other side of the river. Qin Devil King felt a fear in his heart, and was about to exert out a little strength, when he suddenly saw a sword light flying straight to his face. How breathtaking was this sword attack! This sword attack contained an extremely profound principle in the sword path, unleashing the murderous desire of the transforming sword path to its fullest extent. It was like revealing an extremely fine painting in front of his eyes. To be able to see this painting, he could die without regrets. So he died. His head was severed by this sword light, and the head that grew 4 faces and 12 eyes rolled from his neck. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor retracted his sword and walked up to Heaven Wave City. The heavenly devil horde in the city was still taking charge of the sacrificial altar. When they saw this middle-aged man, God knows how many heavenly devils immediately swarmed forward, pouncing at Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. What followed next was the collapse of Qin Devil King's huge corpse. That black barrier also shattered and disintegrated in the air. The countless flying swords attacking the black barrier suddenly moved back and returned into the sword pellets. In the sky floated thousands of sword pellets, each of which was the size of a thumb, rotating around and around. At this moment, a chest flew over from far away, and the lid of the wooden chest opened up. The countless sword pellets flew back into the wooden chest with tinkling and thumping sounds. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor looked at that wooden chest, and seemed to be deep in his thoughts as he stood there motionlessly. Without anyone to take care of the sacrificial altar, that hair-raising summoning came to a stop and the growing vortex in the sky immediately stopped growing before gradually shrinking. The true body of Qin Devil King already had a leg in and was forced to pull back his leg. An extremely unwilling and angry roar faintly came from the depths of the sky. Outside Heaven Wave City, Qin Mu was also raising his head to look at the wooden chest in mid-air, and revealed a suspicious look. This chest looks very familiar. It seems to be the one in the smithy in the village. That wooden chest was also filled with silver-colored pellets. Granny Sai even told me those weren't sword pellets, and were ordinary silver pellets. She even said Grandpa Mute wouldn't be so rich. He saw every single one of the sword pellets enter the wooden chest. The wooden chest gradually fell down, and he immediately sprinted to the place where the wooden chest was landing at. That wooden chest descended down and vanished in a piece of forest. Qin Mu rushed over and saw an elder in cotton clothing who was carrying a furnace for forging on his back. On his hand was a wooden chest, and hardships could be seen all across his face. Those were the wrinkles left behind by time. When the elder in cotton clothing saw him run over, he gave a wide grin and there was no tongue in his mouth. Grandpa Mute. Qin Mu immediately hurried over and opened his arms to hug that elder in cotton clothing. He wanted to hug him up, but this elder was like the heaviest mountain in the world and he was unable to lift him up at all. Qin Mu laughed in excitement and exerted all his strength, but he was still unable to hug him up. Mute gave 2 ahs and placed the chest down. Qin Mu was finally able to hug him up and spun 2 rounds, before throwing this elder to the ground. Mute landed on his butt and stood up to pat the dust off his butt. He gave 2 signals which meant you were too naughty. Grandpa Mute, why have you left the village as well? How come you're here? Qin Mu was surprised and delighted as he asked rapidly, you were so powerful just now. Are the sword pellets in the chest forged by you? Who else has come with you? Ah. As Mute made noises, he did hand signs as well. His eyebrows formed a board shape, and put his palms together beside his face to act like he was sleeping before suddenly stretching 2 fingers out to make a walking shape. His hands signed rapidly and his expression also changed a few thousand times in a breath's time, dazzling Qin Mu's eyes. Grandpa Mute, slow down, I can't follow you. Where's Grandpa deaf? Why didn't he follow you? Mute revealed a pleased expression and signed for a while. He meant he had sneaked out of the village secretly and didn't tell anyone. Qin Mu blinked his eyes and smiled. You don't know, I met Grandpa Butcher and Grandpa Blind, and also Granny Sai. They had already left the village. Mute was astonished and gave 2 chuckles. He raised his wooden chest towards Qin Mu, signaling for him to help carry the chest. Qin Mu sneered and didn't stretch his hand out. Grandpa Mute, don't try to fool me. This chest is very heavy. There are a few thousand sword pellets inside, right? Your sword pellet is very heavy and your chest is even heavier. If I help you carry it, I will definitely dislocate my shoulders and fall to the ground. I was tricked the previous time, and I won't be tricked again. Mute grinned mischievously and gave Qin Mu a thumbs up. In disabled elderly village, other than Cripple, who would tease Qin Mu the most, Mute was next. Suddenly, Mute raised his eyebrows and looked behind Qin Mu. Qin Mu also hurriedly looked back and saw a middle-aged man walking over. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor quietly walked to the front of them and stopped over a dozen yards away from them. A person of the previous generation, he asked gently. Mute grinned and made a few hand signs. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor frowned as he didn't understand. Qin Mu explained to him, Imperial Preceptor, Grandpa Mute meant he wasn't a person from the previous generation, he was still considered young. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor frowned again. It kept him feel uncomfortable that he couldn't understand the Mute, and had to rely on Qin Mu to translate it for him. Dao brother has an extraordinary ability, but what you cultivate isn't sword skill. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor sighed ruefully. I had interacted with a few people of the previous generation, and learned quite a bit. I thought I had seen all kinds of divine arts, paths and skills, yet never would I expect to see a unique divine art like this. Can Dao brother let me experience your divine art? Qin Mu was astonished. He saw Mute attacking, just now with countless sword pellets soaring into the sky and turning into endless flying swords, forcing even Juqian, Devil King, having no choice but to defend, yet was still injured by his swords. Qin Mu had thought Mute's skill was all on swords, yet Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor said what Mute cultivated wasn't sword skill. Could Mute's ability be above the sword skill that he had exhibited? In the village, what Mute had taught him was the path of forging. Qin Mu still carried around a huge hammer frequently, and his hammer skills were taught by Mute. Could Grandpa Mute be cultivating hammer skills? Mute grinned and fastened the furnace on his back. He placed down the wooden chest in his hands. His appearance now was like a traveling blacksmith, taking a break at whichever village he arrived at to help forge ironware for the villagers. His chest was like a chest used to store tools for forging, and the items coming out from the chest shouldn't be sword pellets, but something like a hammer, anvil, filter funnel, iron ladle, etc. He opened the chest and gave a few more hand signs. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's expression turned stiff and looked at Qin Mu. Qin Mu said, Grandpa Mute says his skill is almost lost to the world. It's fine if Imperial Preceptor wants to take a look. He wants Imperial Preceptor to find a suitable successor for him. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor felt deep veneration and said, Dao brother is actually willing to impart the consummate skills of your life to others. Your breadth of mind far surpasses those cult masters, sect masters of those reputable and big sects. If fate allows, I'll keep an eye out for Dao brother. The wooden chest was opened and inside it were countless sword pellets. Each sword pellet was the size of a thumb. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor gave a puzzled look and Mute smiled. He stretched out his palm and the sword pellets were suddenly not silver pellets anymore. They had instead liquefied and turned into something that was like water yet was like light. It gave people the feeling that it was a water transformed from light. This chest of sword pellets had turned into a chest of liquid light. The liquid light then slowly rose from the chest and crawled on Mute's body, spreading throughout his entire body like a silver armor. Qin Mu, an Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, immediately saw all kinds of strange markings appearing on the armor's surface. Those were strange rune formations that were mainly in charge of the defense. The liquid light then flowed down from Mute's body and turned into a huge bell in mid-air. It was dozens of yards tall, and the wall of the bell was very thin, as if it could be see-through. The huge bell slowly spun, and incomparably ancient characters appeared on the wall of the bell. There were also pictures of all kinds of strange beasts, as well as the arrangement of the stars in the full scope of the heavens. Swoosh! The huge bell transformed into flowing light, and a silver dragon appeared and circled around them. As the dragon moved, dragon markings covered its entire body. Suddenly the silver dragon rose into mid-air, and turned into a long sword which soared into the sky, executing profound sword moves. The sword light suddenly retracted, and a huge shield came descending down from the sky. Before the huge shield landed on the ground, it turned into a silver umbrella, and slowly floated down while spinning. The sword pellets in Mute's chest actually had countless changes. It could turn into any weapons and any treasures of any use. The treasure in this chest of his could even transform into the form of divine arts. It was also Qin Mu's first time to see Mute executing his true abilities, and it was also his first time to see such a miraculous ability. Mute didn't teach this ability to him, and he had never seen Mute executing this kind of ability in the village as well. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was spellbound. Suddenly, the liquid light flowed over and transformed into a silver boat, and Mute threw his chest onto the silver boat before jumping up onto it. He grinned at Qin Mu and waved his hand as the silver boat broke through the air at an extreme speed and vanished without a trace. Qin Mu opened his mouth and wanted to call him back, but after thinking, he didn't say a word. After a moment, Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor let out a stale breath and exclaimed, "Superb ability, superb ability. There's still an ability I haven't ever seen before in this world. This Dao brother is remarkable. Imperial Academician, you know him?" Qin Mu said, "He's my elder." Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was stunned and didn't understand the meaning of this sentence. Could it be the experts of Heavenly Devil Sect? Other than Grand Chancellor, there's actually such an expert in Heavenly Devil Cult. Simply remarkable, as expected of the #1 sacred ground of the Devil Path. Qin Mu shook his head. Imperial Preceptor guessed wrongly. I was born in great ruins, thus my home is in great ruins. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was astonished and looked at him deeply before saying meaningfully, Imperial Academician actually came from a powerful family with profound studies. Qin Mu was stunned for a moment and nodded his head reluctantly. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor then asked indifferently, in that case, who was the one that had summoned this devil god? I have no idea as well. Qin Mu said with a straight face, I've also just reached this place and came across such a huge chaos. I'm also so wronged, nearly died here. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor nodded his head gently and said, Jiu Linwan asked you to lead a team of scholars out here for experience. From what I know, your destination should be Lizhu. This is Heaven Wave City and Martial Order County is on the opposite shore, which is 70 miles away from Lizhu. Why is Imperial Academician here? About this. Qin Mu pulled out Hulinga from his backpack and looked at this little white fox. Hu Linga raised her paws and nibbles on her claws. Her eyeballs rolled rapidly and her eyes suddenly lighted up. We had floated down from surging river. We encountered danger in Lishu as the remnants of great mountain sect summoned a devil god, therefore we had escaped out from the river. Young master, is this explanation okay? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor said, without a change in expression, you can say whatever you like. In this chaos of Heaven Wave City, there are countless deaths of the rebel army stationed in Heaven Wave City. The person who summoned the devil god had done a great merit. I prepare to recommend him to the emperor and raise his official position. With this level of merit, the person could be raised to upper fourth ranking at the minimum. Qin Mu opened his mouth and Hu Linga immediately said, "It's our young master who did it. Our young master had summoned this devil god called Juqian or something." Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor ignored her and continued, "There's merit, but since there were also countless of deaths of the commoners in the city, this sin is also huge. Even though death is unavoidable in the battlefield, there are too much deaths in wiping out a city. If I want to show off this person's accomplishment, there will definitely be contrarians in the imperial court criticizing that this person killed countless people, forcing the emperor to punish him. When the rebellion is quelled, scores will definitely be settled at an opportune moment and this person might be purged. I can't say if his whole family would be executed, but being stripped of the official position and exiled is definite." Hu Linga immediately shut her mouth and felt everything she said was wrong. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor gave a smile and said, "Therefore I prepare to keep this merit under wraps and not say who did it. Without merit, there's also no demerit. How does Imperial Academician think it that I handle it like this?" Qin Mu let out a sigh of relief and said, "Imperial Preceptor has handled it very well." Behind them, the army of Eternal Peace Empire had slaughtered all the heavenly devil horde and a few generals came walking over. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor turned around and said indifferently, "Contrarians kill people by their mouths and not their hands. Even if you're able to escape for your life under the mouths of contrarians, it's still going to be a load of annoyance." Qin Mu said, "Imperial Preceptor has experienced it for yourself." Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor nodded his head, "For my reform, I already killed countless contrarians, but there would be another wave of them coming out every time you kill a wave of them. They are endless to kill. They have no ability, and don't do anything yet they take huff at everything you do or say. The only thing they are good at is scolding you. Do you know what my end will be if my reform fails?" Qin Mu shook his head. "I will definitely be condemned by posterity for the next 10,000 years." Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor said indifferent, "Even if I succeed in my reform, I would also be scolded by the contrarians for the next hundreds and thousands of years. I once had a Dao friend who could console my heart. His expression turned dim, but he has left. I miss him very much." This video will end here.